Spring winding toys. When I was at 5, my family, in strictly following the traditional customs, used to pay regular visits to my grandparents' house during the official holidays, and even on other days at times. I was a very active child, in fact a hyper. During those visits, my grandparents would allow me to be more free to do what pleased me, so I would become highly energetic. At times, I chose a shortcut to enter the house by climbing through the window, rather than entering from the main door, only to become the first one my grandfather greets. Finding him sitting calmly, I surprise him with my rowdy entrance that made him look around to see me, then says, "Calm down, my spring." He used to call me Spring, and because he constantly called me Spring, I figured it was because of my constant active movements, having no idea where the word came from and what does it mean. I simply realized that I personify the word and its meaning in a sense that I am a sort of a restless moving object. My grandfather presumed that after bribing me with a sum of money, I would calm down, but instead my raucousness increased. The money would inflame my imagination, driving me to get what I longed for. I would leave the house to buy a winding toy, as though to double my energetic nature by a similar, hidden winding mechanism. Or maybe I was healing the hyper energy in both my body and soul. Back then, there were no battery-operated toys, and the winding toys mesmerized me since I thought there was a mysterious force that operated it instead of its actual mechanism. The toy had a key that would wind its spring, a sort of a solid metallic spiral coil that rolls around itself by the use of a key, in order to store the energy inside of it, and when the key is released, it turns the toy into motion. This mechanism of the spring coil was called winding. I don't know where this word came from. Maybe from the clock, since table clocks should be wended, as well as the alarm clocks, and they probably worked on the same sort of spring mechanism. Hence, I used to wind my toy and drown in its magical mechanism and its mysterious operation. Back then, there were no battery-operated toys, and the winding toys mesmerized me since I thought there was a mysterious force that operated it instead of its actual mechanism. The toy had a key that would wind its spring, and the later was sort of a solid metallic spiral coil that rolls around itself by the use of a key in order to store the energy inside of it, and when the key is released, it turns the toy into motion. This mechanism of the spring coil was called winding. I don't know where this word came from, maybe from the clock since the table clocks were winded, as well as the alarm clocks, and probably both worked on the same sort of spring mechanism. Hence, I used to wind my toy and drown in its magical mechanism and its mysterious operation. I was infatuated by spring toys, and my grandfather's term inflamed me with extra energy. Yet, every game has its problems. The first thing that breaks down in my games is the spring. Being so curious to find the reason behind it, I disassemble the toy and enjoy seeing the mechanic tools inside. I noticed that the compressed spring, wrapped in circles, which is the reservoir of energy, turned to be loose and became an empty metal strip. As I grew up, the term winding took on further indications in daily conversation, such as, "Don't wind him against me." When a person is tired and has no energy left, they'd say, "His winding is all done." They say winder, meaning one who gets on in life smoothly. Nowadays, with the technological advancement, there are no longer winding mechanized clocks or toys. Batteries took over, since energy is stored in them, without the need for any tedious winding of the instrument. Charging has replaced the winding. Furthermore, when it comes to expressing oneself in conversation, the term "don't wind him against me" was replaced by the term "don't charge him against me," and the term "his winding is all done" was replaced with "he is out of charge." No need to mention that other terms became more popular in our present times of stalling and postponements, such as, "Do you remember how many times you've been left on charge?" which means how many times one would wait for an unfulfilled promise. But let us forgo the new age semantics that probably may end one day just as winding ended as a term. Let us go back to the old toys that I so loved during my childhood and that I still cherish, because I am still a winder.